Welcome to the School of Life. Life is hard, but you have got to be harder. I'm Mrs. Collins, your life coach. Let's get started with Unit 2, Lesson 7, Area and Perimeter on the Coordinate Plane. Our essential question for today's lesson is, how can we calculate the area and perimeter on the coordinate plane? Very first thing we'll do is define perimeter and area, and then we'll look at the formulas for figuring out the perimeter and area of a rectangle as well as a square. So first, perimeter is the distance around a figure, and area is the space inside a two-dimensional figure. So we'll be focusing on the area of the figures in the coordinate plane. First off, thinking about a rectangle, let's just draw a rectangle here. Some things that we know about a rectangle is that the two opposite sides are equal to each other. And then we also know that rectangles have a right angle. One other thing to note about a rectangle is that it has a length and it has a width. So one of the sides, it's called its length, and then the other side is called its width. So length and a width. In order to figure out the area of a rectangle, we will multiply that length times the width. So A equals length times width. As far as a square, drawing our square, things you should remember is that all four sides are equal and it contains a right angle. Actually, it contains four right angles. Same thing with the rectangle, four right angles. In order for us to figure out the area of our rectangle, we have the formula A equals length times width. So we have a length and we have a width for our square. Or our other formula is A equals the side squared. So if we take either of the sides, they're exactly the same in length. So we do side squared, which is the same thing as taking the side and multiplying it by itself. So this is the same as side times side squared. Let's try a few examples. So we are asked to find the perimeter and area of each of our figures. We have square ABCD, and we should notice that each of the sides are the square root of 13. So if you want to, you can go ahead and draw a picture of a square, noting that each side is exactly the same, the square root of 13. And again, each side is exactly the same. In order to find the perimeter, we need to add up all the sides because it's the distance around our figure. So we'd have the square root of 13 plus the square root of 13 plus the square root of 13 plus the square root of 13. And we're adding 4 square roots of 13 because, again, there are 4 sides that are exactly the same. In order to simplify this, we can think about each of these radicals as kind of like a variable. They are all the square root of 13, so that allows us to add them up. And when we're adding them up, we'll be adding the coefficient that's in front of them, a 1. 1 times the square root of 13 plus 1 times the square root of 13 plus 1 times the square root of 13 plus 1 times the square root of 13. This will give us 4 times the square root of 13, or 4 root 13. And that's our perimeter for our square. Okay, as for our area, we are going to multiply our side squared. Or it's the exact same thing as our side times the side. So this will be equal to the square root of 13 squared, which is equal to the square root of 13 times itself, the square root of 13. Okay, the square root of 13 times the square root of 13 gives us the square root of 169. So we multiply the 13 times 13, it gives us 169. If we go further, the square root of 169 is equal to 13. So our area is 13. You can say 13 units squared is our area. For number 2, we have our rectangle. So we have a rectangle. It is called MATH. We're told that MA is 2 times the square root of 29. AT is the square root of 29. Since this is a rectangle, you really don't have to put in the other two sides because we know that they are exactly the same as its side that was opposite it. So moving forward from here, we have our perimeter. Perimeter is again the distance around your shape. So we're going to add up all four sides. So 2 times the square root of 29 plus the square root of 29 plus 2 times the square root of 29 plus the square root of 29. For the radicals without a number in front, we would consider that the coefficient is a 1. So we'd have a 1 times the square root of 29 and a 1 times the square root of 29 there. And because each of our radicals are exactly the same, the square root of 29, we're able to go ahead and add up the coefficients. So 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, which gives us 6. So this answer is 6 times the square root of 29. And that's our perimeter. If you want to write the word units at the end, then that's fine. So the perimeter is 6 times the square root of 29 units. As for the area, our formula is A equals length times the width. So in this case, our length is 2 times the square root of 29. And we're multiplying it by our width, which is the square root of 29. To simplify, our 2 stays out in front. And then we have the square root of 29 times the square root of 29. So we multiply 29 times 29, and that gives us 841. So it's 2 times the square root of 841. If we simplify the square root of 841, it's simply 29. So this becomes 2 times 29. And 2 times 29 will give 58. And so our answer is 58 units squared. All right, number 3, we have find the area and the perimeter of rectangle. This should say rectangle JKLM. So rectangle JKLM. Rough sketch, we have JKLM as our rectangle. It tells us the JK is the square root of 10 and KL is the square root of 90. Again, not necessarily writing the other two sides because they're exactly the same as the two that's across from them. To figure out the perimeter, once again, that's the distance around the figure. So what we will do is add up all four sides. So the square root of 10 plus the square root of 90 plus the square root of 10 plus the square root of 90. Now when we are adding radicals, we can't add them unless they have the exact same radicand. So these 10s and 90s, can't add those up. We would be able to add the square root of 10 plus the square root of 10, but let's just see if we can rewrite the square root of 90. So the square root of 90, if we take some side work here, that becomes a 9 times 10. 9 can break it down into 3 times 3. And for our 10, we have 2 times a 5. Okay, we have a pair of 3s, so we'd go ahead and take out a 3. And then inside, we'll have a 2, and we have a 5 left over. So we have 2 times a 5. And so this becomes 3 times the square root of 2 times 5 is 10. So 3 times the square root of 10. So for each of these square roots of 90, we can actually rewrite them as 3 times the square root of 10. Okay, and then remembering that we're adding them to the square root of 10, we now have all of the same radicands. So therefore, we can go ahead and add them all up. Remember, for each one that has no number out in front, we can write that 1, our invisible 1 as our coefficient. And then let's go ahead and add 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3. This will give us 8. So our answer is 8 times the square root of 10. And that's our perimeter. And again, this is in units. As for our area, we have A equals the length times the width. So A is equal to our square root of 10 times our square root of 90. And so the square root of 10 times the square root of 90 becomes the square root of 900. which is equal to 30. 30 times 30 gives us 900. So our area is 30 units squared. All right, number 4 is a you-try problem. So therefore, go ahead and figure out the perimeter and area for this rectangle. So our answers for the perimeter, our perimeter is 10 times the square root of 13. We've added up all 4 of our sides. And for the area, our area is 52 units squared. We've multiplied our length times our width. So 4 times the square root of 13 times the square root of 13. The square root of 13 times the square root of 13 gives us the square root of 169, which is equal to 13. So then we have 4 times 13, which is 52. All right, so in our next set of examples, we have problems where we're asked to figure out the area and the perimeter when our shape is on a coordinate plane. So when we're given the vertices, which is the corners, of our either square or rectangle. In this particular case, we have a square, and we were given the 4 vertices. We do not know the side lengths, so therefore we will have to use the distance formula to figure out the side lengths. The nice thing about a square is that all 4 sides are the same. So as long as we can figure out the distance between any or either of the sides, then we'll be able to use it and then go ahead and calculate our perimeter and area. So our step number 1 will be again to find the distance for one of these sides, and it comes out to be the square root of 50. We can break down the square root of 50 to a 5 and a 10. 5 times 10 gives us 50. We can break down our 10 into 5 times 2. We have a pair of 5s, so this becomes 5. And then inside we'll have the square root of 2. So 5 times the square root of 2. So the sides are 5 root 2. So finding the perimeter, we're going to add 5 times the square root of 2 plus 5 times the square root of 2 plus 5 times the square root of 2 plus 5 times the square root of 2. This will add up each of the coefficients, 5, 5, 5, and 5. And this will give us 20 times the square root of 2 as our perimeter, and that's in units. As far as our area is equal to our side squared, or same as side times side. So in this case, we'd have 5 times the square root of 2, and we are squaring it, which is once again the exact same thing as 5 times the square root of 2 times 5 times the square root of 2. Multiplying our 5's together, 5 and our 5 will give us 25. And then we're also multiplying the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 will give us 25 times the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is just 2, so this is 25 times 2. And 25 times 2 is 50. So our area is 50 units squared. Alright, for the last example, please pause your videos and try it for yourselves. So far you should have used the distance formula. And with the distance formula, since this is a rectangle, we have to at least calculate or use the distance formula twice. One for the shorter side and one for our longer side. The shorter side comes out to be the square root of 13. And the longer side comes out to be the square root of 52, which when you break it down is 2 times the square root of 13. Alright, so after using our length and our width, we have that the perimeter is equal to 6 times the square root of 13 units. And our area, length times width, is equal to 26 units squared.